morning, everyone, and happy holidays to you. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We begin overseas tonight in Ukraine, where the days are short and the nights are long with sub-zero temperatures. And for hours on end, there is little to no power. This is the reality under the shadow of Russia's war in Ukraine, where there are repeated bombardment of cities and key power infrastructure. But tonight, the brave, resilient people there continue to live their lives as they hope for a better and warmer tomorrow. Inez de la Quatara files this in-depth report from Ukraine.
There's a touch of magic in this music school. As in most of Ukraine, darkness permeates its halls. Yet burning embers of hope have still found a way to shine through. 10-year-old Ruth Gorshkova uses music to help her forget about Russia's war in her country. The brutal conflict now roughly 10 months long. The only light she has to play by is from a flashlight. But she still goes to her lessons. Her own small way of standing up to the Russians.
Do you want to leave?
No. With no lights, I have a light in my heart.
Winter. It is particularly brutal in Ukraine, with biting winds and sub-freezing temperatures. Russia has been weaponizing the year's coldest season, zeroing in on Ukraine's critical infrastructure over the last 2 months. Relentless missile strikes have halved the country's power capacity. Now millions of Ukrainians are experiencing shortages of power and running water, some for more than 12 hours a day. Officials say these blackouts could last until at least March. At night, buses and cars navigate dimly lit streets, and customers must shop with only the glow of their phones to guide them. Residents like Maxim Kondratovich have been forced to camp out in their own homes, boiling water with a kerosene stove, stocking up on camping equipment in preparation for longer blackouts.
You're really prepared.
Yeah, that's how we live.
How you live now,
Yeah.
Even the children of Ukraine are being tested.
We don't care if it take for us months or years without light, even in the middle of the winter, and it's like our spirit to continue to go on, and it's like our sacrifice.
Aid groups are scrambling to provide blankets, generators, and medical supplies, with reports of surgeries being done in the dark.
This right here is the new front in this war. These crews working overtime to keep the power going through winter, and over here, their truck even struck by bullets.
One person died, 2 more were injured, the equipment burned down, but you see, our work was risky even before the war. We work as we have been working before dealing with emergencies, but that was for the short time, and now it is every day.
The lack of heat, power, and water has led Ukrainian officials to urge evacuations in the southern Kherson and Mykolaiv regions. Teams of volunteers urgently working to get the elderly and disabled to safety. 72-year-old Larissa lives with the constant sound of shelling. She pays little attention, instead focusing on her garden. But with the looming threat of airstrikes and further power outages, she's decided she can no longer hold out. Larissa evacuating her home of 25 years, but it's not the furniture pieces or memories she's leaving behind that seem to pain her most. After volunteers help her into this white passenger van, she and 2 others will soon be taken to a waiting train bound away from the horror of falling bombs, but also far from the comfort of home. For the ones that do stay, it is critical that aid gets in.
We go with the social workers and bring them this food basket.
So today there's 15 people total that you're going to see.
Yeah.
And every day it's different numbers.
Yeah.
We follow them to see 67-year-old Ludmila and her 90-year-old mother, Isabella, who are dependent on these deliveries to survive.
It's scary, terrifying, especially for my mother. It's the second war she's living through.
But even in the darkest of days, Ukrainians still remain defiant. Valentina is a former teacher determined to stay put for as long as possible, singing to keep her hopes up.
The simple truth about the love she brings to me, where do I start? I love to sing very much.
She still goes about her daily life, cooking and listening to the radio, but she's always aware of just how dangerous her situation is. She keeps a bag packed with essentials, a passport, her valuables, gauze, and her favorite poem.
What should I do? I will be sitting, yes, and crying, yes. No, I will be fighting.
Even though Ukraine may be in the middle of a seemingly never-ending winter of darkness, no war can extinguish the fire burning deep inside the resilient people here who bravely push on, hoping brighter days will return. Famous Ukrainian poet Lesya Ukrainka wrote, "I am alive, I'll live eternally, I have that in my heart which cannot die."
Such resilience on display for us all. Our thanks to Inez for that. Tonight, we bring you part of our year-long reporting on the underbelly of the illegal marijuana operations happening right here in the U.S. Our Maria Villarreal brings us the stories of two undocumented women who thought that they had been granted a reliable work opportunity in the marijuana fields, only to find out they would become narco slaves.
The state of Oregon was one of the first to legalize the growing of recreational marijuana. The goal was to regulate the industry and generate tax revenue.
This is the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Exit the building and walk towards the large green vehicle.
Instead, in the last 8 years, authorities say the legalization of recreational marijuana in states around the country created a breeding ground for black market pot, often grown by the cartels.
One more.
This is the underbelly of legalization, an ugly, out-of-control problem that thrives on human trafficking.
It's the human factor, to see the conditions that these people are being put in every single day to the point that they're literally dying is heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking that it's rampant.
A veces me quisiera ir a México. Le han dado muchas ganas de regresar. Pero pues ya estoy aquí, ya tengo que aguantar. He llorado y he querido, y cuando hablo con mi familia, pues lloro. Pero ellos jamás saben de nada de esto. Horrible, te sientes humillada, pisoteada, te sientes burlada, con ganas de morirte.
Over a year ago, a woman we will call Alejandra fled Mexico, risking her life to cross the border with the hope of finding a job to provide for her 3 children. Now determined to tell her story, but worried the cartels could come after her, she asked us to distort her voice and not show her face. Alejandra shared this video of her scaling over the U.S.-Mexico border wall. She tells us she fell 13 feet trying to cross into the United States, limping as she walked further into Texas.
Caminé 5 horas. Estuve 5 horas caminando o arrastrándome. Nos persiguió 1 hora la migra. Y de repente, cuando menos se metía entre los carros, se metía entre el tráfico y lo perdimos, no supimos ni dónde.
She spent 2 months in El Paso working as she recovered, eventually deciding to move to Oregon.
La persona que me llevó a Ciudad Juárez me recomendó que en Oregon era mejor pagado. Esa persona había trabajado ahí por 5 años y le fue muy bien.
Alejandra says she accepted a job at a farm near Medford, Oregon. She had 9 years of experience in agriculture, and initially, nothing about the job seemed out of the ordinary.
Nos dieron el trabajo, íbamos a estar 15 días trabajando nada más y que nos pagarían cada semana.
The day they arrived, Alejandra says the managers treated them well. But a day later, things took a dramatic turn.
Una persona y yo intenté salir porque quería mis pastillas, porque yo tengo colesterol. Con la pistola en mano nos dijo, nadie sale de aquí. Nadie sale de aquí hasta que no terminen la moto de trimear. Nadie ni sale, nadie entra.
Alejandra had worked trimming marijuana plants before, but she says never under conditions like this.
Éramos prisioneros porque no podíamos salir. Trabajábamos demasiado, desde las 6 de la mañana hasta las 2, 3 de la mañana trabajábamos. Nos presionaban para que trabajáramos más rápido la mota. Ahí en el campamento habían 3 hombres armados y siempre andaban observándonos a ver qué hacíamos. Siempre andaban checando a ver qué es lo que andábamos haciendo. Nos seguían. Los teléfonos pues no agarraban nada, no teníamos señal. Ellos siempre se ponían bien locos. Cuando le preguntaban que cuándo iba a ser la paga, sí se saltaban. Abusan en el pago, abusan de que lo tratan a uno como si fuera un animal. Es un miedo que pues tú piensas que a lo mejor ya no ibas a regresar. Ya. Siempre pensé en mis hijos, en mi madre, que pues que los volviera a ver. Personas están abusando demasiado de la gente, más de las que no tenemos papeles, los indocumentados.
Experts say these workers are vulnerable and desperate, making them easy targets for exploitation by cartels and others.
So you have all of these issues going on, and what does that force migrant communities to do? Where are they going for work?
We've seen even people, walking here for months that have come up here, other ones who are being contracted in their hometowns. So when they get here, then they're expecting a certain type of employment, like they're expecting to be working in the strawberries or grapes or something. So then they take them up into the illegal marijuana fields.
The NGO UNETE has been fighting for migrant farm worker rights for over 2 decades. They step in after a raid to make sure farm workers have access to food and shelter. Many are from Central America.
Honduras, they're having the huge hurricanes. Much of that is related to climate change. In Guatemala, extreme droughts where people who are really subsistence farmers that survive on really what they produce, there's nothing. So all these families, when they get this promise of, hey, you can make, this much money an hour and you're gonna be making, thousands of dollars and you can bring it home to your family. Well, of course, they're desperate. They're totally at the mercy of the people who are their contractors.
Authorities say this allows the illegal farms, often controlled by the cartels, to have total control over the lives of workers. Most workers, if not all, are undocumented. They worry about being deported, about being hurt, or even worse, having the cartels go after their families back in their home countries.
They don't have any access to be able to contact agencies like us or be able to contact law enforcement. I think just that level of fear and the fear that their families might be harmed, they're just willing to just keep quiet. Most of them don't want to be working in the marijuana fields, but it's their only option.
Pues yo cuando empecé en el 2021, fuimos y nos llevaron ahí a trabajar en el GEN. Quieren ellos, es como si fueras al trabajo de la uva, vas a ir y venir. Y cuando llegamos ahí no fue así.
Another woman we will call Maria, who also asked us to conceal her face and alter her voice, says she heard about a job in Oregon through someone that called themselves a contractor. They didn't verify her immigration status, and they paid well.
Llegamos y empezamos a trabajar y ya cuando pues uno dice ya a las 5 pues nos vamos.
Maria says there were armed men guarding the doors. When she asked about them, she was told they were protecting the crops from thieves. But just like in Alejandra's case, she says when the workers were ready to leave, they were stopped by the guards.
No podíamos salir hasta que se terminara la cosecha.
How long was that? ¿Cuántos meses o semanas o...?
Lo que durara.
¿Y cómo se mira en el campo? ¿Hay baños ahí?
No.
¿Hay camas?
No.
¿Dónde acostaron?
En el piso, en colchones inflables.
¿Y cuántas personas están ahí contigo?
Había muchas. Muchas.
Maria says there were almost 200 workers in that illegal farm. She says in the middle of August, in the summer heat, they were forced to work from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. The guards would determine when they would wake up, eat, and go to bed.
¿Y cómo se escapó?
Nosotros salimos porque cayó la policía. Fue temprano, como a las 6 de la mañana. Estaba todavía la mayoría todavía dormidos. Cuando cayó el policía, escuchamos primero una avioneta y helicópteros y un dron andaba. Y luego llegaron los carros, yo no sé, andaban vestidos de militar, lo que se llegaron. Y pues la gente toda corría.
¿Dónde corrieron?
Al monte, al campo, a escondernos.
¿Tenía miedo?
Sí.
¿De la policía?
De todo. No sabíamos por qué había hombres armados. No sabíamos de quién escondernos.
Maria told us she hid for 12 hours in the brush, then walked back to camp, finding everything and everyone gone.
¿Por qué no hablaron con la policía?
Por miedo también de que nos echaran a la cárcel o algo.
¿Creen que van a deportar?
Tal vez sí.
Alejandra and Maria's stories are just two among thousands. Last December, Oregon lawmakers agreed the problem with illegal pot farms was out of control, recognizing the cartels had infiltrated their industry and migrants were being trafficked to work the fields. But help can't come fast enough.
Con miedo, siempre que vamos así, vamos a los trabajos, cuando hay, pues con miedo, pero pues tenemos que trabajar.
Alejandra and Maria both say they never got paid for their work. The contractors vanished, leaving the women with nothing but bad memories and the fear it will happen again.
Pues es difícil recordar todo eso y sin poder hablar porque pues uno no conoce a las personas. ¿Qué tal si toman represalias contra uno, con la familia que uno tiene? Por eso es mejor quedarse callado.
Our thanks to Maria for that. Up next, when you pay to stream songs by your favorite artists, where do you think the money is going? You might be surprised at how little even some of the biggest performers often earn. This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
In Putin's Russia.
on the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
Here at the White House. Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye. Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Get ready, America, every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. What's the right stuff to buy right now? I really love that. It's time to buy the right stuff.
Yes!
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA. You're going to love it.
Bring them on.
If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place as spectacular as, well, me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends. Oh, wait, there is.
Good morning, America.
GMA, 7A, every day. Boom, boom, boom.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom! Now that's how you start your day, people.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
How cute.
Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
With so much happening these days, it's hard to keep up.
Things change hour by hour, minute by minute.
The historic weather that's now unfolding.
The worries on Wall Street.
We're bringing you the Right Now. With a nationwide teacher shortage.
The Right Now look at the day ahead. An alert this morning for dog owners and the key takeaways from the biggest stories.
World News Now and America This Morning, America's #1 early morning news.
Today does feel a little different. Early mornings on ABC News Live.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television. So, what's good to read? And we mean really good to read right now. Well, that's where Charlie and Kate Gibson can help.
Join us for the new podcast series. It is called The Bookcase with Kate and Charlie.
We will make sure you love what you read.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
As of today, in a big way, we have inaugurated abcnews.com.
A lot has changed in our world since Peter made that announcement. But what hasn't changed is the commitment to groundbreaking reporting and innovation at abcnews.com. And here's to everything ahead.
Welcome back. More than 776 million users streamed music in 2022, generating billions of dollars. But how that money is divided up has become a heated debate in the music industry. Some artists say they aren't getting paid enough and don't even own their master recordings, sparking a trend of singers re-recording their albums. Our Steve Osunsami digs into music royalties.
This is a story that asks, who sings for the singer? About what some are calling the fight for fairness in the music industry, and how many of the world's favorite performers and songwriters, like CeCe Peniston, for example, are saying that they should be getting much more of the dollar for their arts and efforts.
I just want to know that when I stream my favorite artist's music, that the money that I pay to that service and to the record company, that the artist is getting their fair cut.
The only thing I can say is that would be nice, which is why we're sitting here now.
Back in 1991, she sent the planet to the dance floor with her hit song Finally, which won her an award for Pop Songwriter of the Year. And over the decades, the lyrics she wrote would end up selling everything from a price comparison website in England to laundry detergent in the Philippines. So it was a surprise to many of her fans, this reporter included, when in July she shared this financial statement online. And she says it shows that during a recent calendar year, she earned a little more than $18,000 in royalties for music that's earned everyone else a whole lot more.
Looking at my songs at the gym, I'm looking at my songs in different stores. The amount that I saw from my vantage point looked to be a year of time, right?
The issues she and other artists now have are many, including old deals they signed with record companies and the way the industry divides profits. Much of this dates back more than 30 years, when record labels still made most of their money manufacturing actual CDs, tapes, and records, a time when they commanded as much as 90% of all money from music sales. But even though they sell most music today digitally with no physical product, the record labels still get about 59% of the money from music streamed online. And it's the label that pays the performer, depending on the deal, sometimes less than 15 cents for every dollar. And the songwriters, they often get the smallest cut of the dollar. And in the case of Beyoncé's Break My Soul, for example, that's Mrs. Carter and 7 other credited writers who, under an industry agreement, share no more than 13.4% of profits from streaming.
A lot of people say that's ridiculous. A lot of people say it should be 50-50. A lot of people say it does make sense because the record companies are the ones who are actually marketing the records.
Jem Aswad is an industry reporter for Variety magazine and says that the popular streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and Tidal are rightly credited with saving the music business about 10 years ago. But the streaming services are also a new hand that gets a cut of the money. And from the same dollar bill from the music customer, they take about 28%.
The money that streaming generates is a fraction per song, per album, is a fraction of what a CD used to. So it's generating money for superstars, but if you're a lower level artist, streaming is not making you very much money at all, and that is why you're hearing so many artists say, how can I have 180 million streams on this song and get $45?
In America, there is one young woman leading the battle for music creators, and her name is Taylor Swift.
It's me.
She is famously re-recording her first 6 studio albums because under an old record deal that she signed, she doesn't own any of the original recordings. And the story is typical. Up until a few years ago, her early recordings were making money for an entertainment executive named Scooter Braun, who bought her old record company. He then sold the recordings to a private equity firm in 2020 for $300 million. All this time, when people listen to those original recordings online, she loses out on many of the profits.
So we're talking about one of the biggest, if not the biggest, music artist in the entire world of the last 10 years, taking on the system and showing that you can be in control.
What she's doing here is more than clever. One of the many songs she's already re-recorded is Wildest Dreams, one of her biggest hits from 2014. Now here's the same section of that song from the version she re-recorded late last year, a recording she owns, and the differences are purposefully hard to hear. Just 4 hours after she hit send on the new recording, more than 2 million fans were streaming it on Spotify, which was way more than the original recording ever saw in a single day. And because she wrote the song, if anyone wants to use it in an ad, or in this case, a movie trailer for the animated film Spirit Untamed, they need to get her permission.
We'll get your family back, Spirit.
And now she's only going to say yes if they agree to use, guess what, the new recording, which gives her more of the dollar.
Why is this so important to you?
Because I think that artists deserve to own their work. I just feel very passionately about that.
What she's done as a really, frankly, fairly brilliant middle finger to the entire process is re-recording all of those albums and making new albums out of them, putting bonus tracks on them so that she owns them. And she has explained this very clearly to her fans, saying, like, if you want to support me, if you want to support artists, please don't play the old version, play the new version.
And Taylor Swift is far from alone. Before he died, the artist formerly known as Prince, legends like Anita Baker, pop superstars like Rihanna and Ciara have all fought to own their recordings and earn more from music they created.
The greatest thing for me is now seeing it on the other side and owning my masters, really understanding how much you're missing out by not owning your record, by not being able to participate in a bigger way in the piece of the pie.
In England right now, more than 150 musicians are appealing to the British government for a bigger piece of digital profits, including rock and roll legends Paul McCartney, Annie Lennox, and Kate Bush, whose 1985 song Running Up That Hill was one of the most streamed songs of this past year after people on social media rediscovered the track. But the record companies say it's not so simple and point out that their financial cut is actually getting smaller. We reached out to the Recording Industry Association of America that speaks for the labels, and they tell us that record companies put nearly 35% of their revenues back into artists, close to $6 billion each year in human and financial resources to help artists succeed and increase the value platforms pay for music. And then there's the reality that many of these artists are famous millionaires or even billionaires, and it can be hard for many music consumers to feel their pain.
okay? With Taylor Swift in particular, yes, she's fighting for herself, but she is also fighting for all artists. Why should the average music fan care about this? If somebody can't make a living as a musician, if somebody can't make a living as a songwriter, they're going to find something else to do, and you're not going to have the music anymore. A huge solution for this would be to raise the cost of streaming, okay? It has been $10, around $10 a month for all the streaming services since it started, okay? And people are willing to pay more. They have done polls where people have said, yes, I would pay $2 a month more, but the streaming services are in such a ground war over market share, they just will not be the first one to raise the price and thus lose a little bit of that market share.
We reached out to Spotify as well, and they told us that musicians are getting a bigger piece of the pie and that more musicians than ever before are able to earn a living making music because streamers like Spotify aren't limited by what they can fit into an old record store. A spokesperson shares that for the first time this year, over 1,000 artists generated over $1 million on Spotify alone. And a group that speaks for all the streaming services tells us that they know that songwriters and artists have voiced concerns, including about the terms of their contracts with publishers or labels, but that the streaming services are not a party. When we met with CeCe Peniston at a studio near her home in Arizona, she shared that her career hasn't always been about champagne wishes and caviar dreams. And she, too, has decided to re-record her biggest hit. And here it is, on its way to the streaming services by the end of the year.
I'm in a great place now.
Yeah.
I can definitely tell you, God has been blessing me.
Yes.
But there have been times where I'm like, okay, is this what I've arrived to? I'm looking at my wall, I'm looking at my gold albums, and I'm like, okay, how is it that I've gone into different stores and I've heard my music, or like I told you, the gym, or licensing or TV commercials, and my account is looking this way. So I thank God for the place where I'm at now, that I learned about everything.
The best way to support her, she says, is to come to her shows, because here there are fewer outstretched hands between the musicians and the dollars from their fans. It's why many performers today spend so much time on the road.
I love performing live. It brings me the best joy. Like, when I look out and see the crowd and they're performing the song with me and they're smiling, I'm like, this is why I do this. This is why I love it, you know?
If you could, you know, wave a magic wand at it and fix it tomorrow, what would be the change?
People need to quit being greedy. And I'm just gonna say it just like that. Why can't you make as well as me? Why can't we make money together? Why can't we be successful together?
It's beyond time, she says, for more people who love their music to sing for the singer.
And understand that artists, we're here to make the world happy.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is to heal through song.
Mm-hmm.
It's to touch people. It's to take people away from their bad day to a good day. So keep us smiling and happy so we can do the same for you.
Finally, it is happening for her and several other musicians. Our thanks to Steve Osunsami. Up next, what actually happens to a K-pop star when they're conscripted into the military? We go to South Korea to find out.
Name?
Special Agent Will Trent. Murdered teenage girl. I just need you to read the crime scene. I told him I'd bring my best. Yes, ma'am.
Something happening here.
Somebody was carried out of the house without an Amber Alert. There's a kidnapping.
Why Will Trent, of all people?
He's good police.
And he's objectively hot.
Plus, I have a good memory.
Zoo!
200.
Oh, 200.
200 episodes of Dr. Pol. Music to my ears.
It's been 10 years, and I'm still having fun.
That rocks. He's got the moves that make your animals groove.
Now we do the dance of joy.
He's like the Justin Bieber of the
Headlining the hottest barns.
Shout out.
It's a show you won't want to miss.
I'm not going to be here forever. Maybe.
The Incredible Dr. Pol. New episodes Saturdays at 9 on Nat Geo Wild.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis, streaming weeknights.
So, what's good to read? And we mean really good to read right now. Well, that's where Charlie and Kate Gibson can help.
Join us for the new podcast series. It is called The Bookcase with Kate and Charlie.
We will make sure you love what you read.
Listen wherever you get your podcasts. More Americans choose ABC News, America's #1 news source.
Welcome back. Protecting your privacy online can seem more difficult these days with tech and advertising companies collecting information about us as we browse. But what exactly are the limits, especially when it comes to children? For decades, data privacy regulations have been a loosely enforced patchwork of laws. But now, for the first time, Congress is trying to advance comprehensive national regulations. Here's Devin Dwyer with what it could mean for you and your family.
Those are really nice pictures.
Digital privacy advocate Jolena Quaresma is a single mom who, like millions of American parents, worries about her teenage daughter online.
So after 24 hours, this is gone, right? Yeah.
About how technology firms are tracking her and enticing her with targeted content.
When I look at my screen time, it's a little bit like, wow, that's time that I could have been, doing something else.
Are you aware that these companies are picking up on where you're going and what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think one time I looked up the word "it" for whatever, and I started getting horror movie ads, and I was so freaked out. I just could not take it.
Data collection and targeted advertising are at the heart of how the internet functions and how we experience it. But there's no comprehensive national standard for what companies can and cannot do. For years, sites like Facebook and Google have used third-party tracking technology that trails a user and builds a profile about their interests. Marketers then use that information to create targeted ads and promote content to keep users engaged.
They're just collecting so much data on our kids. For one ad tech company, they will have collected over 70 million data points by the time a child is 13. She's 15 now. I don't even know where they're at.
70 million.
Over 70 million.
The more information you have on kids, the more you can do these hyper fine-tuned algorithms, the more you can pull them towards more extreme ideas.
Frances Haugen is a former Facebook insider and whistleblower who says the profiling of young users can be harmful, and given the explosion of apps and time spent on devices, is increasingly dangerous. Federal law requires websites to seek parental consent before they collect data on children under 13, but only if they have actual knowledge of a user's age. Congress hasn't updated the law in more than a decade, even as technologies have rapidly evolved.
Privacy has serious consequences when it comes to kids, and I think we're long past due in terms of updating those laws.
I'm a mom of 3 young kids. This very much is on my heart every day as we're battling how much screen time in our household.
Republican Kathy McMorris Rogers and Democrat Frank Pallone, who lead the House Energy and Commerce Committee, say they're advancing a historic plan to improve online privacy and better protect children and teens.
And what makes it so urgent at this moment?
I just think that the situation has gotten completely out of hand.
More screen time, more time online. That's been the goal, is just to keep us on our phones as much as possible. And for our kids, it's been especially harmful.
The biggest problem right now, to me, is that there is no national standard. You can opt in or opt out, whatever. But people don't really understand that.
The American Data Privacy and Protection Act would for the first time set a national standard, limiting data collection to only what's necessary for a company to maintain its service, creating a right to know what information has been collected about you, and a right to sue if your privacy has been abused.
It's going to empower the individual to have control over the data that's being collected and used and stored, but also then potentially sold.
And most significant for parents, they say.
Are you kidding me? Of course I follow her.
The law would ban collection of sensitive data on children under 17 and end targeted advertising to anyone a company could reasonably assume to be a minor.
If they could pass legislation where it gives everyone privacy, comprehensive federal privacy, that would be great.
Social media and technology companies say they're on board, but only so long as a new law applies equally across the board.
There are 15 different carve-outs and exceptions. What that means in practice is data privacy will mean one thing in one state and a different thing in another state.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce also warns sharply curbing data collection will wreak havoc on the economy.
We're really concerned that businesses, especially small businesses, won't be able to use data and digital advertising to reach customers. We had one small business tell us that if they lose the ability to do that, it's like another pandemic.
The House bill has support from a top Senate Republican, but a key Senate Democrat who heads the committee overseeing privacy legislation is not yet on board. Neither is outgoing House Speaker Nancy Pelosi of California.
The House will be in order.
Who worries a national law could override California's state privacy protections that took effect earlier this year. A Pelosi spokesman telling ABC News, unfortunately, changes are still needed to preserve states' ability to keep pace with rapidly changing technologies and platforms, and to guarantee the same essential consumer protections in California's existing privacy laws.
We have no idea who these people are.
You're not doing that, right?
No, mine is just set to my friends.
All right.
Quaresma, who works for a nonprofit backing the bill, says a compromise is desperately needed.
I'm a single mom, and I love the fact that everything I'm doing is in an effort to make her life better.
If we don't do it, then this continues, and maybe people will start to think, well, there is no privacy, and nobody's ever going to protect me, and the government can't do anything about it. The government can do something about it, and that's why we're doing this bill, Democrats and Republicans coming together.
Optimistic it'll pass?
Yes.
Our thanks to Devin. In the coming days, a member of the K-pop supergroup will report for military duty. Despite bringing billions of dollars to South Korea's economy and having adoring fans around the world, male K-pop performers still have to serve in the military. It's fueling a growing debate about whether they should be exempted. ABC's Joo-hee Cho has the details from Seoul.
There are juggernauts in the world of K-pop. Boy bands like NCT, ENHYPEN, EXO, and of course, BTS. They've sold millions of records and performed in front of thousands of screaming fans. Their popularity driven by the ongoing global fascination with K-pop. But all of these bands must also face one of their biggest challenges, often happening at the height of their sweeping careers. Military conscription is mandatory for all South Korean men between the ages of 18 to 28. South Korea is living under the constant threat of a nuclear-equipped neighbor, North Korea, the two still technically at war since 1950. BTS's Jin is heading to the military after delaying conscription for 2 years past the maximum age limit, thanks to a change of law designed to buy time for music groups to carry on. The other members will soon follow suit, pushing them out of the public sphere at least until 2025. That leaves their future uncertain. It's a path other groups have traveled with no guarantee fans will be waiting on the other side.
It's extremely tough because they can't really function at their peak performance that they did when they left. And it's also a question of whether the market is there for them still, which is namely their fans.
And they move on to other groups.
They move on to other groups, or they just age out of being a fan of K-pop.
But not all fans move on. One K-pop comeback success story, Super Junior, a second-generation K-pop boy band that swept the global market in 2009 by storm with the hit track, Sorry, Sorry. It took 10 years for all members to finish military duties because of their age differences.
We did what we had to do, and we are really proud of completing military service. But yes, it was really tough because we couldn't be there for our fans as one wholesome team.
Super Junior's Siwon Che says it was a decade of uncertainty, but they used creative tactics to stay in touch with their biggest supporters.
So we try to different ways to interact with our fans, like performing in units and solos. And I also went into acting, which gave me dual jobs now.
Siwon is also a top lead actor, starring in shows like Revolutionary Love and dozens of other hit Korean and Chinese TV series and movies.
It was difficult, but I've learned a lot. I've learned so much during military service. And I have so much respect for military and police force and serve my country. It was a reminder for us that hard work pays off. We can always count on each other. So we cannot wait to work on our new project or our next project.
The extra exposure and connections with the fans may have helped. Super Junior is currently on a world tour. There are some exceptions to mandatory military service in South Korea. Distinguished fine arts performers do not have to serve, as well as athletes who earn medals. But K-pop idols don't fall in that category. Now Korean lawmakers are debating should artists like BTS and NCT also be exempted. The debate is widely divided. Lawmaker Han Gi-ho is calling for these exemption rules to be scrapped altogether with no exceptions.
지금 현재 북한이 미사일 가지고 위협을 하고 핵실험을 하고 또 포병을 가지고 위협을 하고 있는 상태에서 나라를 지켜야 될 인원들에 대해서 더 이상은 감축할 수 있는 인원이 없습니다.
In addition to safety, arguments also center around the ideas of fairness and justice.
It triggers many different nerves, so it is extremely sensitive. So people feel like it's not fair for me to have this great loss and trauma in my life if you don't go through it.
But those in favor of idol exemption include lawmaker Kim Young-bae. He proposed a bill last September that will allow top boy band members to avoid mandatory military service.
순수 예술 분야는 42개 분야에서 이미 병역 혜택을 받고 있습니다. 그런 면에서 보면 대중문화 예술이라고 이야기되는 BTS나 이런 분들의 사회적 영향력에 비해서는 이 대중문화 예술인들이 오히려 약간 차별받고 있다 이런 이야기도 있거든요.
Recent analysis shows that K-pop generates about $10 billion for the country each year. And one study found that by 2020, BTS was contributing $3.5 billion a year to the nation's economy. That much influence can go a long way in elevating national status, image, and pride.
대한민국의 청년들이 전 세계적인 그런 문화 산업의 발전에도 상당히 기여할 수 있는 새로운 길이 창출되지 않을까 그런 기대도 있고요. 그래서 저는 우리 대한민국에게도 기회가 되고 우리 청년들의 미래에도 새로운 도전의 기회가 될 수 있다. 이런 측면을 좀 강조드리고 싶습니다.
Korean people, they respect BTS and they cherish them. They regard them as a sort of like a national treasure and a national pride. But at the same time, to continue to have that kind of status, people now understand that well, maybe it's better for them to have a military service, to finish that properly.
Both the Minister of Culture and Minister of Defense have stated that the issue of exemptions is under review and public opinion surveys will be taken into consideration. One of the ideas is to allow flexible dates of service so that all members in a group could finish their duties around the same time. The final policy decision is due by the end of the year, and until then, millions of K-pop fans are holding their breath, wondering just how long they'll have to wait to see their favorite groups on stage again.
Our thanks to Juhi for that. Does a sandwich taste better if someone else makes it for you? We set out to find the answer to that crucial question.
So much happening these days, it's hard to keep up.
Things change hour by hour, minute by minute.
The historic weather that's now unfolding.
The worries on Wall Street.
We're bringing you the Right Now. Been a nationwide teacher shortage.
The Right Now look at the day ahead. An alert this morning for dog owners and the key takeaways from the biggest stories.
World News Now and America This Morning, America's #1 early morning news.
Today does feel a little different. Early mornings on ABC News Live.
This is where I belong. This is home. Real dirt in the sunlight again. I'm very excited. Anything could happen at any moment. My heart is so happy right now. We're making magic. We're making magic. Name?
Special Agent Will Trent. Murdered teenage girl. I just need you to read the crime scene. I told him I'd bring my best. Yes, ma'am. Something happening here. Somebody was carried out of the house without an Amber Alert. There's a kidnapping.
Why Will Trent, of all people?
He's good police, and he's objectively hot. Plus, I have a good memory.
Get ready, America, every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. What's the right stuff to buy right now? I really love that. It's time to buy the right stuff.
Yes!
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA. You're gonna love it.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues, The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
How cute.
Yeah.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 12 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
And finally tonight, as we all get ready for the holidays, you may be making some food for your loved ones, perhaps. Well, there is a belief that food, such as sandwiches, taste better when someone else makes it for you. Our Stephanie Ramos set out to see if that's really the case.
Most of us have eaten something made by a friend or loved one and thought their food, no matter how complex or simple, was better.
This is really good.
Because we didn't make it ourselves, which begs the question, why is it that when someone makes us food, it tastes better?
Beautiful.
And is this theory consistent?
What's going through your mind now?
We put it to the test.
We've got Tashi and Nan here. You two have not met before, right?
We are strangers, yes.
Strangers, just for the record, but you're gonna make each other a sandwich.
I'm really glad that you also went for the onion because onion is really controversial.
What do you normally keep in mind when you're making a sandwich for somebody else?
I keep in mind love.
I feel the love already.
You feel the love, right?
What are you thinking about as you make the sandwich?
I actually don't make sandwiches very often, so I am just trying to remember all of the pieces.
What's going through your mind now as you listen to Nan?
I feel fortunate to have this experience depending on the kindness of a stranger. She'll always remember me for this. I'll be her first sandwich.
And both sandwiches look good. They both look great. It's time for you ladies to enjoy these sandwiches.
This is for Nan.
Okay. For Tashi.
Nan's first sandwich that she has made, and it happens to be for you.
I feel so honored.
What do you think, Tashi?
I don't love mustard, but this works. I don't know if I'm just excited because Nan made me this sandwich.
And you appreciate it so much.
I
she's
do.
Here. She took the time to think she heard your preferences.
I actually love this. I usually never go for the soft bread, but I actually really like this.
Do you think it makes you have to be more open-minded when somebody else is crafting your meal?
I think this has allowed me to be a little bit more open-minded. I don't really allow people to do things for me, so it feels very personal. And I appreciate that.
It's like a gift, right? What we're talking about, making food for somebody else, it's a gift. It's a gift of love, it's a gift of your time, it's a gift of nourishment and food. And that brings people happiness, like more so than spending money.
I'm Nick Whitmer. He's my friend Christian Durant. We were friends through stand-up comedy. Now we're making sandwiches. Yep. What are you gonna start with here?
Bread, and then where's the Captain Crunch? I'm gonna do white bread because I feel like Whitmer likes white bread over multigrain for some reason. Next, we're gonna go with turkey. There's salmon here. If I wanted to punish you, I would do the salmon. And I'm not like a mustard guy, but I know he is. I probably won't eat this sandwich because I'm really adverse to mustard.
All right, I'm gonna try to make mustard work for you.
I don't think you will, but we'll see. Can I wipe this off real quick? I guess it's all going to the same place, right?
In my mouth, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a little aioli here.
You see? I'm like coming at this from like a 3rd grade cafeteria lady angle. I used to work at a sandwich place, but they never let me make sandwiches.
I'm gonna do turkey and pepper jacks.
Wow. See, now I feel bad because he's really taking his time and making this beautiful sandwich.
I want you to enjoy lunch. Boom, boom. I'm making this for you too, so
yeah,
you gotta like it.
That's pretty solid, I gotta say. It looks beautiful. I thought we were gonna do the wedding cake bite. Mustardy goodness. Now taste each other's. There you go. Let's see if this aioli is all it's cracked up to be. Beautiful. It's an amazing sandwich.
You know what's weird is I wasn't expecting to like this. But this is really good. This is like a 7 and this is like a 6.5. They're really, really close.
Do you think anything about who made it factors in?
The first thought I had when I bit into it, I was like, how is this good? It's like, you know, so I think that does have something to do with it.
I had to try this demonstration out for myself with my husband, Emio.
We're making a sandwich. Aww. When he makes the sandwiches, they always taste a little bit better. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the convenience.
I just put your favorite things in it.
A lot of cheese.
You're getting mayonnaise.
Okay.
The capers, you see the capers?
Wait, are you hinting at what you would want in your sandwich? Is that it? Okay, that's what you would like. That's good to know.
When you're at this cutting board, it's thinking about Stephanie.
You know what? Yeah. When I'm making sandwich for myself, I'm just thinking about eating.
Emily, what do you think it is about eating the sandwiches that he makes for me and feeling and thinking that they're so much better than the ones that I make, even though we are using the same ingredients?
Well, I've been hearing that you do it with a lot of love, right? So when you are receiving that sandwich, you are feeling that love. And that's not something that we do for ourselves. Not with a sandwich, anyway.
So I'm tasting the one that I made for you.
It is good.
Right? Right? It's tasty.
All right. Want to try your sandwich?
This is right up my alley. I'm taking this home.
I'll see you in the sandwich there.
Emio, you were talking about how Stephanie likes your sandwiches because she doesn't have to put the effort into making the sandwich. It's just beautifully constructed, lovingly delivered, and that's part of why it tastes so good.
The sandwich is definitely more enjoyable coming from Emio. The love is there, and you definitely feel it.
I love you.
Convinced? Better if someone else makes it? I think I'll check that box. Our thanks to Stephanie for that. And that's our show for tonight. Happy holidays, everyone, and a very happy Kwanzaa for those celebrating the first night tonight. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.
So much at stake in our world right now. We wanted to thank you for your trust and for making ABC News America's #1 news.
And thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
After an extraordinary news-making year, thank you for making ABC's This Week America's #1 news and politics show on Sunday mornings.
You never know what you're going to get on this show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi! This mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial breaks.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasure that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby. It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
From America's #1 news source comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter. And it can customize to you and your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience what all the buzz is about. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now. We're honored ABC's 2020 winner of 3 Emmy Awards for Excellence. Thank you for making 2020 Friday night's most watched and most honored news magazine.
This is where I belong. This is home. Real real dirt in the sunlight again.
I'm very excited. Anything could happen at any moment.
My heart is so happy right now.
We're making magic.
We're making
magic.
Fear generates fear, and when you look back on some things that you're afraid of, then you wonder why you were the way you were.
What you're doing is you're believing the devil and you're believing a lie. You're all liars. Murderer. You're the ones that are committing murder. It's because of you that this disease is spreading throughout the country.
I have no desire to sleep with any bisexual men at all, period.
I have no way of getting in contact with it, I don't think.
Medical news, a potentially fatal disease unknown just months ago is spreading so quickly that doctors